Okay, well, I just want to talk about the fact that you matter. And there is a lot going around on the internet nowadays. Seems to be a trending thing where people are talking about people going no contact with their parents, and whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. And I even saw a video the other day, or at least the thumbnail for a video the other day, where it talked about Gen X parents or Gen Xers being are they good parents or grandparents, or are they bad parents and grandparents, and how some of the children of Gen X parents and grandparents are going no contact with their parents and grandparents, and whether this is a good thing or a bad thing or not. And I think it depends, because all my life, being born into a nominally Catholic family and all, it was constantly pounded into my head that, honor your mother and your father. But I've known a lot of parents who, even though they say honor your mother and your father, they use that passage of scripture for that. It never occurred to the people who quoting that scripture as a way to basically shame and control their kids, that they should be honorable. If you want your children to honor you, then be honorable. Don't abuse your children and neglect them and treat them like crap, but then expect that they're going to give you respect and honor you, regardless of how you treat them, just because you're their parents or their grandparents. And so I say it all depends on what kind of parents you are, or what your parents are like, or your grandparents, or anybody else in your life, as to whether or not it's justified to go no contact with them. Because, if your parents and grandparents were shit to you and abusive, then what makes them think that they deserve to be treated with honor and respect when you were at your most vulnerable and most dependent on them, and they treated you like shit? But then after a lifetime of treating you like shit, they expect you to honor them and be good to them and take care of them later on? I mean, I remember my stepfather, who we did not have a good relationship at all. He was pompous and arrogant, and he was incredibly talented as a musician. And that's one thing I regret, is that I didn't ask him to teach me how to play piano when I could have, because he was a concert pianist, incredibly talented. And he knew it, but he had narcissistic personality disorder and was actually diagnosed with that, and was just an absolute bag of shit as a person. Arrogant as hell. I mean, it's so much to the point that it got in the way of his musical career, to where nobody wanted to work with him. And but he was very abusive, psychologically and emotionally, and would even go so far as to call me boy. And when I was a kid. But then he would demand that I show him respect simply because he was older than me and because he was my stepfather. It's like, treat me like shit, but demand that I show him respect. And deference simply because he was older than me and because he was my stepfather. And having grown up in a nominally, I say nominally, Catholic family, because the people who pretended to be the most religious and Catholic and were the least religious of all when it came to applying the moral teachings and beliefs of the church to their own lives, but they would use it as a weapon. You know, they would weaponize it against me and against others, you know, as a standard by which to judge other people. But then their favorite quote would be, you know, judge not that ye be not judged. While they, you know, were the most eager people ever to rush to judgment against others. And so, but there just seems to be this thing where, you know, it's like, as your parent, I can treat you like shit. But, you know, and neglect you and abuse you and all that. And some people suffered severe abuse from their parents. I mean, some of the abuse stories I've heard of over the years is just unbelievable, and to where the parents actually knew they were abusing their kids and wanted to harm their children, but then they would turn around and demand that, well, you've got to, you know, you've just got to learn to forgive and you know, honor your mother and your father. And so in my case, I don't think that some of the people in my life who were abusive, you know, just psychologically and verbally abusive, were that way because they wanted to be that way. They just couldn't help themselves. You know, they're just trash bags as, you know, people. And so I don't think that it's actually a bad thing to go no contact with people, you know, be they your parents, grandparents, cousins, siblings, former friends, anybody who abuses you. If you believe that you matter and you have any form of self-respect, which you do matter, by the way, I don't believe that it's necessary, you know, it's necessarily a bad thing to go no contact and get those people out of your life. And in fact, I would add that to the video I uploaded earlier in regards to vetting the people you have in your life. You've got to continue vetting them. Maybe a person was a decent person when they first came into your life, or maybe they're family members, whatever. But now they've just turned into absolute garbage, and they treat you like shit. Maybe they're, you know, committing crimes, doing whatever, abusing you, abusing people you care about. Continue to vet them, and when they turn out that way, you know, get rid of them. You know, let them go. Get them out of your life as fast as possible. And the sooner the better, because I've found that the more I've gotten the assholes out of my life, you know, and I don't tolerate bullshit, the better my life gets. So you should be absolutely intolerant of that, and you do matter, because no self-respecting person would, you know, really tolerate abuse and disrespect. And, you know, so you do not have to take bullshit from people. You don't have to take abuse, including from your parents, you know, regardless of whether they try to shame you or not, and they try to weaponize, you know, like Christian beliefs and all that by saying, you know, honor your mother and father, and, you know, some of the most narcissistic and sociopathic people they love Christianity in particular, because what they do is they like to weaponize the religion and use it against you, but as a shield for themselves when they themselves do not, live up to their own standards by which they judge you. And, me, like I say, having grown up in a family that was nominally Catholic, I've seen a lot of that where some of the most narcissistic and hypocritical people, they'll preach to you about morality and all that, and they'll say, honor your mother and your father and all that, and, oh, you've got to forgive, because that makes it easier for them to abuse you and then victim shame you, and they're basically just weaponizing the religion against you. So this wasn't meant to be a rant about religion. However, it is a rant about hypocrisy. And just to let anybody who might be watching this in the future know that you do matter. You don't have to take people's bullshit and their abuse. And in fact, I would advise you to not take any shit from anybody. And the more you stand up for yourself and assert yourself and stand up for your rights and refuse to be treated like crap, and you get the abusive people out of your life and people who disrespect you and betray your trust and all that, the more you do that, the better your life will get, and the sooner you do that, the better. And like I say, the people who love quoting the Bible the most, in regards to that, and I'm not anti-Christian at all, but I do see how it can be weaponized against good people. The people who love to do that the most, the reason that they love to do that is because they know they can get you to believe in the idea of turning the other cheek, forgiving, and you must always honor your mother and father, at least as they say, because that's a way to shame you and fearmonger you into being a good little victim, a good little doormat for them. And so, just a little rant here about that. I see nothing wrong with going no contact, cutting people out of your life, and basically standing up for yourself. And I don't care who it is that you're cutting out of your life. If they're abusing you and disrespecting you and treating you like shit, you don't deserve that. And cut them out of your life and do it as quickly as possible, because the sooner you do, the better your life will be. A lot less drama, and believe me, life is better when you're not being abused. And because I've been on the receiving end of that myself, and also that goes with people who just don't appreciate you. If you're constantly reaching out to somebody and they don't respond to you, or they only respond when they want something, or they think that they can get something from you, it's not because they care about you and want you in their life. It's because they want to use you. So those people too, people who disrespect you, and there's like 10,000 ways that people just disrespect you openly and subtly. And I could go into a whole bunch of stuff about that, but I won't. But the people who disrespect you and abuse you and all that, get them out of your life, and go no contact if you need to. Nothing wrong with that. And the sooner the better.